The European Union's antitrust battle against big tech rolls on as the EU is dishing out charges and reaching settlements with the likes of Meta and Amazon over the use of user data. Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley has been following this story for us. Dan, what's the latest?
Yeah, so we have a Amazon settlement with the EU going on with regards to some antitrust charges. Essentially, what was going on here was similar to what the U.S. has accused Amazon of, or members of Congress accused Amazon of, where Amazon was using third-party data for products to then make their own competing products and then sell those against sellers on their own website. They also were placing Amazon products in the so-called buy box more frequently than third parties. And so the end result of that would be beneficiary to Amazon and hurtful towards third-party sellers, because Amazon would naturally have access to data that third-party sellers would use to better their products, and they also had better spacing. Now, Amazon contends that this is not the case, that they disagree with this wholeheartedly, but they are agreeing to amend their business practices. They're not paying any fines in this particular instance. They're agreeing to amend their business practices where they do not use third-party data to go ahead and make new products or make competing products. And they also would allow third-party sellers to appear more regularly in that so-called buy box. So that's a big deal for Amazon to do that in the EU, considering it's something that we've seen, as I said, Congress here in the U.S. complain about and take Amazon to task over. In fact, members of Congress had asked founder and former CEO Jeff Bezos if Amazon was actually using third-party data to create their own products. And they said he couldn't be sure that that wasn't the case, although they had kind of tried to push employees not to do so. So, this kind of settlement in the EU could mean changes coming in the U.S. as well, if that's the case. Now, there's other, obviously, big antitrust issues going on in the EU. We have Google, for instance, contending, Alphabet, continuing to contend with a number of different issues, as well as Meta parent company Facebook. They recently were in trouble or sent a statement of objection from the EU, basically saying, look, we think that you having Facebook Marketplace tied to the standard Facebook app is a problem. It's unfair to competing services, and that it essentially needs to be separated or should be separated. So, there are these ongoing issues that we see in the EU, and it does kind of show you that they are pushing forward more diligently or at least more aggressively than here in the U.S., where things really are kind of moving at a snail's pace.
Dan, that begs the question, what happens to the one company you didn't mention yet, which is Apple? What is it looking like for them in the EU?
Yeah, so they're going to have to change up their app store. This is something that's going to happen with the Digital Markets Act. That goes into effect in January, and it's enforceable in 2024. But Apple's already working on the technology to go ahead and allow third-party app stores to be built for the iPhone and iOS and iPad OS. It doesn't matter with Mac OS. You can download stuff from the internet anywhere for your Mac, but not on your iPhone or your iPad. So it looks like that's going to be changing in the future for Apple. And, I had seen a note from analysts who'd said, this isn't necessarily going to be, the end of the road for Apple in the App Store. On the contrary, people are just more comfortable using the Apple App Store. And, even if there's a huge discount, 25%, between using a third party and using Apple's App Store, people are still going to use the Apple App Store because it's more convenient, it's more trustworthy, and it's what they've been using for a long time. Google allows you to install third-party app stores already, and people still use the Google Play Store. So, I don't think it's going to be a huge pain for Apple, but it could be something that we do, again, eventually end up seeing here in the U.S. as well.
Certainly not going to slow down anytime soon in terms of the EU's crackdown on big tech. Dan Howley, thanks so much for that.